Yo, for the Cap 21, main takeaways from the Warriors' 20th week of the regular season. So let's go. Quinton Post is going to need to have an important offseason this summer, regardless of how the season ends. They've upgraded him from being a two-way player to now having a standard contract, meaning they're committed to him. I'm guessing that by now we're all obviously aware of what he brings to the table, and there are a lot of things that he needs to work on this summer. One of those things is just developing more of an NBA body for his size, as well as a post-up game. He weighed in at around 245 pounds at the draft combine, which isn't bad. However, it's clear that he needs to add like another 5 pounds to his frame. The reason why this is so crucial is because of how teams are guarding him. They're putting wings and small forwards on him. We played the Sacramento Kings and Doug Christie put Zach LaVine on him. I'm sorry, but I don't know about y'all, but me personally, if I'm 7 feet without shoes on and the other team has a dude that is giving up 6 or 7 inches of height that is guarding me, ain't no way am I just about to stand on the perimeter and not take this man down to the block. I know he's already doing a lot by providing the spacing and being a coverage defender, but it just adds another layer to the offense to where defenses will pretty much not have an answer for him. Like, the reason why they're doing this is to take away the pick and pop. Well, now if you do that, then you're just gonna get feasted in the post. It becomes a deadly game of picking your poison. It's like Nikola Jokic, but obviously they can't put a small player on Jokic, so opposing teams can frequently concede a lot of pick and pops to Jokic and the Denver Nuggets, and Jokic has been shooting the ball very well. Post ironically doesn't have a strong post-up game, meaning he doesn't know how to properly seal, he doesn't know how to back people down, he doesn't have great post footwork, nor does he even have great balance, so it's extremely crucial that he develops some type of post-up game to exploit some of these disrespectful mismatches, because that's one of the next levels for Post to develop in his NBA journey. GP2 has been fan-effing-tastic ever since the Jimmy Butler trade, and I feel like it needs to be talked about more. Defensively, you know what you're getting. He's ball pressuring the other team's best player, he's active and he gives multiple athletic efforts when it comes to making plays defensively. He's at his best when he's poking the ball away and tipping passes rather than defending straight up, because he does have weaknesses where he does get beat and he can't recover very well, or he's too small and he gets thrown around. But another thing that he's been doing very well is being disciplined regarding his coverages. The Warriors are a heavy ice coverage team, and you'll rarely see GP2 allow his matchup to use screens on an ice coverage. Offensively is where things get exciting, because earlier this season, I'm not gonna lie, I was getting annoyed with GP2 that I legitimately thought this man was cooked on offense. It was to the point where it was like, what does this guy do? But as of recently, his role, which is screen and roll work, has been great. He's been play finishing and play making connectively very well. With the addition of Jimmy's scoring presence, he's been getting a lot of quality cutting / dump off opportunities where he's lurking underneath the basket and he just positions himself in the right spot to catch the ball and finish around the basket with these floaters / hooks, and he's been doing it at an efficient rate. But the bright spot is that he can now hit set shots. Teams help off of him and he's been burning them. Ever since he broke his nose and had to wear that mask, it's been up for his jumper. It just seems as though his shot prep has been a lot better. Nothing feels rushed about his jumper and he feels more confident in taking them. This is crucial because it's a contract year for GP2 and his value was tanking tremendously. It's been great to see him be so effective out there while playing with a ton of joy. Something that I want to touch on is the concept of limbo. Limbo is simple. It means either not getting back on defense early or not crashing the glass. So ideally, when the shot goes up and you're just standing around not doing anything, you're caught in limbo. Sacramento was able to rally in the third quarter against the Warriors because our transition defense was horrid. It was even worse in the Nuggets game, albeit it was a weird ass game, and the Nuggets are one of the best transition teams that just outworked the Warriors. However, our transition defense is bad because of 2 guys, and you're probably thinking it's a young player on our team or it's Buddy Hield or something, but nope, it's largely because of Steph and Dre. Steph is in a stage in his career where he's now a regular season coaster. He likes to pace himself and pick his spots to play, and the areas where he'll take a step back is running back on defense. It usually happens when he misses a tough lay or a transition 3-point shot and he's just jogging back on defense. It's very similar to LeBron, where he doesn't exert energy getting up and down the floor, and it honestly makes sense because of his age and his workload on offense, but at the same time it's still something that hurts the team. Draymond is often caught in limbo because he's too busy arguing with refs going to the basket. Someone's got to tell Draymond that he doesn't have that superstar whistle. He complains about calls that Jimmy would get, and he's not Jimmy, so because of that, he's not back into the play, and a defensive possession where Draymond is not in the play will usually end up in a disaster. Most of the reasoning for having a bad transition defense mainly just stems from guys not getting back. It's so simple. example, if you play 5-on-4, you'll usually score because you have numbers. This is something where come playoff time, I don't expect Dre and Steph to have this kind of attitude, but it is something that can cost us certain regular season games that are winnable, but just because we were undisciplined in getting back on defense, now we've lost certain regular season games that we should have won, all because we just didn't compete in transition. There's 13 games left at the time of this recording, and we can't afford to lose many of those games just because guys are constantly getting caught in limbo and not doing their part in getting back on defense. There's all this talk about how Jimmy doesn't want to just score, and he'll score when it's quote unquote his time, and he wants to get his teammates involved, and the priority is to win. And all of that seems great until you realize what's going on. When the team can't generate any kind of offense, or let's say Steph has an off night, the other team is on a run, it is Jimmy Butler's job to weather that with his offense. This is why we got him. We didn't get him to just be a role player and just constantly pass. So that's the first thing. Scoring aggressively when it's needed at certain points of the game, when it starts getting out of control, or when the game starts slipping away. Jimmy needs to consistently set guys up to score. What I mean by that is that if Jimmy has the ball, he has to pass it with an advantage being created. And how does he do that? By attacking gaps consistently in his spots. Now, if you don't know what gaps are, it's how much space you have between you and the next guy one pass away. So if that guy happens to be a deadly shooter like Steph, the defender guarding Steph is likely going to be hugged up on him, and you're going to have a big gap to attack. But if that guy happens to be a non-shooter like JK, the defender guarding JK will probably gap off of him, thus leading to a smaller gap to attack. When you attack a gap, you're forcing that gap defender to choose to stop you, because ideally what they're trying to do is guard you without fully doing it. Because defenders in the gaps, what they're trying to do is dissuade you from actually penetrating. They don't want you getting downhill, so they're trying to discourage you from getting to the rim. So when you do attack the gap, and you force the gap defender to slide over, then you can create an open shot for your teammates. But Jimmy likes to play slow for the most part, where they'll isolate him in the mid/pinch post, and he'll burn like 5 or 6 seconds off the clock, and what he'll do sometimes is not attack gaps, and he'll throw a grenade to his teammates, or he'll just run a handoff, and it'll lead to a dead possession. That is something that cannot happen on the regular. But on the flip side, defenses respect the hell out of him, to the point where they strong side zone him on most possessions. They're sending extra defenders, and he has the attention of all 5 players. This allows for guys to cut, relocate, and position themselves correctly to score. In a way, it's very LeBron-esque, where defenders can get caught ball watching, and you see guys like Moses Moody constantly cutting along the baseline behind the backside/low man defender, and he's getting easy layups because Jimmy is a legit star that teams have to scheme against. And this is not to pick on Wiggins or anything, because I love Wiggins and what he has done for the Warriors, but for the people that said Wiggins was better than this man, when have opposing defenses ever schemed their defense to Wiggins the same way they've done it to Jimmy? Never. So to summarize it all, what Jimmy's doing is a good and a bad thing, in the sense that he's drawing all sorts of attention, but he can be passive in the wrong periods, and sometimes he can do a bad job getting his teammates shot attempts.